Okay, so I'm in the right room. That's wonderful. Just you and me and a thumbs down before we even started.
Hello, everybody. We need to go. You need to be cheerful there, Ron. Hello, thanks for coming, you guys. I'm going to let Ron take over this, but I'm going to say hello first to Elegant Homestead and Chris the Fam, okay? Welcome, guys, and I'll be typing so Ron can take over as I ask him questions for this live stream. It's to do with Ron and his book that's going to be released shortly he's hoping Christmas or shortly after. So with further ado, I will ask him for the first question. And the first question is, what inspired you to write a book?
Neighbors constantly hassling me to find out why my yard had turned around and was outperforming theirs, why my garden was outperforming theirs when they had been gardening for so much longer than I had. So they bug me, and I give them the details, and it just wouldn't go anywhere. They wouldn't listen. So inevitably, I came to the conclusion it all had to be written down, and that's where that went.
Okay, do you have any questions for Ron at all in regards to his new book being released? And it's called The Green Wizard. Any questions at all from you guys? And in the meantime, I'll ask him the next question. How long did it take you to write the book?
Oh God, it's been a 5 to 6 year project. The book started out, extremely large, like 500 pages, and when I sat down to try and explain it to a neighbor one day, he glazed over so quick with the um, explanation and all the scientific terminology behind all of it. It was like, okay, there's something wrong here. I've got to recondense this, and I've got to do this a different way. Um, so through trial and error and a lot of rewrites, I'm now with uh, an incredible company that is helping me refine the book and get it all finished. Covers done. Um, Book launchers is right there behind me and beside me, helping me along the way, and I'd say it's the end of a 6 year project.
Okay. Is there any questions here, guys? I want to read my questions, but in the meantime, you could throw up questions and I'll ask Ron the questions, okay? I have, how many chapters is your book?
That was the problem. With all the information, it just didn't make any sense. When I condensed this book down and got it down, um, it's only 50 pages. It's a very, very short, hour and a half long read. Um, that after dealing with neighbors and talking to people, trying to explain myself, um, I found that if I told a story, something that somebody could just start at the beginning and save themselves 15 years of heartache, 15 years of finance, 15 years of beating themselves up with the information, and trying to get their yards to turn around and get things going a different direction. Um, yeah, it's there's no chapters. It's just a very simple hour and a half long read. You can blow through and walk away with the information that you need to do what I've done, go green, and turn your yard around, become weed free, get more productive.
Okay, I would like to ask you, do you feel people will learn from your book, and what will they learn?
Well, see, it's not. That's a lot of companies and a lot of we'll just say people who want to make money on you. Um, have come up with terminologies and have come up with these schemes and have come up with these ideas, um, and ways of how you treat your yard, how you do this, how you do that, how you do the other, and they've gotten away from the principles and the true thing that is yard work, that is gardening, that is maintaining a yard. When you consider back when they first built Washington, D.C., the White House didn't have lawnmowers. They had sheep roaming around, cleaning everything up, fertilizing the grass out there. It wasn't chemical rich. It wasn't chemical based. Um, and thinking that through and going backwards through it, it was like, this makes more sense if I go my way and give you the information that is more natural, going green, and is going to give you those results with far less work and keeping more money in your pocket.
Okay. I don't see any questions, so I'm going to continue asking. Oh, will your book keep them interested, I guess, in reading it?
Well, see, that's the hard part. I took a 500-page book, condensed it down to 50, getting rid of all of the college level information and breaking it down, and I was still losing people. It was like, okay, there's no interest level here. People are not going to stick with this. This is not waking people up. They're not. Um, so when I reached out to book launchers and got together with Tim, we found an entertaining way to uh, get the jack out of the box. In other words, to twist this up in such a way that as you're reading this book, and we have put some things in there that don't make any sense, but they're part of wizardry, which becomes explained in the story as you're going through reading the story. And again, it's an hour and a half long read. 50 pages is not much. But when you're entertained by what Tim has done and what my story explaining 15 years of battling this 80-year-old yard, potentially 200-year-old farmland to get it back and to get it right. Yeah, we have found a very entertaining way through through casting spells, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense until you read the book. Through casting spells and quirkiness and being incorrect, deliberately incorrect, um, that you are entertained. It is something that once you sit down to start reading this, it's not something you want to put down. It's not a story. It's not something made up type of interest where who murdered who and where did the pipe go that the professor used to kill somebody in the observatory. That's not the kind of book we've written here. This is just a very, let's get back to basics. Let me show you what I did for 15 years, how I did it wrong, and what made me do it right. So yes, it is an entertaining book.
Well, I'm going to find it interesting to buy it. The next question, would you, unless there's anybody that has questions that want to type for Ron, I'm going to shoot to the next question. And the next one would be, would you recommend somebody to write a book?
This has been a weird process. Yeah, if you've got something to say and you've got information that can save somebody time and deliver your message, absolutely write a book. It is a, I don't want to say it's a once in a lifetime experience, but um, too many people are electronic bound, and books are going away. Information is being lost to instantaneous information. Absolutely, write a book. There's information out there that people can use. You've got it in your mind. Just put pen to paper. Well, in today's world, don't do pen to paper. That's not going to work. Get in front of a computer, start typing, stay away from distractions, and just get it done. Don't do what I did and take 6 years to put a book together and get it to market. When you've got something to say it today. Get it typed out, get it done. But absolutely, it's been a great experience.
So leads me to something else on the same line, and I'm just adding this question in. So you highly recommend to do a book because if you don't, wouldn't you regret it? Like if you have all these ideas set up and you don't get it out, then you'll regret you never did it.
If my book can land in one person's hands and change their way of thinking, change the way they approach their yard and their yard work, then to me, the book has done exactly what it is intended to do. If I can reach more than that and reach hundreds and reach thousands, I can make an impact on a country, I can make an impact on a world because there's things in my book that people have forgotten and things have been lost. And you can follow this information and run with it and make a tremendous difference in your yard.
Okay, there's a question here, but it's going to go along with another one, but I will ask it because it kind of adds to one of the later questions. So Chris the fam asked, will that be book be available in an ebook?
Yes, we are. I was hoping that when I did the initial release, I did it in paperback only. But the more that my publisher, my assistant in this, um, is advising me, yeah, once we hit market, it's all coming out. I don't think that we're going to go to audiobook for an hour and a half long book. Um, but I could be wrong. It all depends on the market value and what people want. If it's there, then we'll do it. If it's not there and there's no interest in it, we're not gonna waste anybody's time by creating something to just sit on a shelf somewhere that isn't being utilized.
Well, that makes absolute sense. Please, I keep typing. If there's any questions for Ron, this would be helpful for him. It's all about his book new release. It's going to be released before Christmas or shortly after, which is perfect time to get it out. Since there's no questions right now, I will continue asking the next question. Um, when will the book be released?
Well, that's still to be determined. We're condensing it down now to get it into electronic format so that it can be uploaded, and can be sent to Amazon and all of the rest of them. Amazon, the Kindle, Nook, all sorts of different places that this has to go. So we are in the final stages. It is very soon.
Okay, Jadelle has a question. Does the book speak about keeping plants safe from insects and with natural products? Any natural ideas to keep plants safe from insect inf- infestation? Sorry, infectations.
There's a long explanation for that. And um, it's been my experience, and yes, the information that you're looking for is covered in the book, but it's an understanding that when bugs infect a plant, it's because the plant's not healthy. When you make the plant healthy and you get the conditions correct, and the book conditions are what I'm talking about. Um, when you get those conditions correct, there are natural defenses that the plants put out themselves that drive bugs away. Healthy plants will not be attacked by bugs and will not be eaten by bugs. So the healthier they are, the healthier your situations are. Yes, it will fix and it will stop bugs from attacking plants.
Thank you guys. First of all, I appreciate you shipping questions besides my own. Chris the fam asked, my backyard is full of ragweed. How can I treat it during the winter to prevent it in the spring?
Well, there's some interesting things there, and there's a bunch of wives' tales about different chemical mixes and different ways you can mix some stuff up at home, um, stuff out of your cabinets, what have you. Vinegar, salt, um, and a little bit of cinnamon mixed in water in a spray bottle can knock them down. The problem is it's not so much that you have the ragweed plant, it's that the ragweed seed reproduces on a yearly basis. You would have to attack the seeds at the seed level to work your way through that. It would take roughly a season, and you would maintain your yard back and get rid of the ragweed. It would be gone.
Okay, Elegant Homestead is she's asking a question. So Ron, you hit on proper soil composition and additives. Is that correct? Do you?
Yes, yes, that's primarily the understanding because um, what we have done is over farmed our properties. We have over farmed the land since we've been here 200 years ago. We do not have cattle roaming around. We do not have bison roaming around. We do not have a bunch of the just nature itself maintaining our yards and our soils. So because we've lost this idea and because we've gone to this fancy thing of we've got to have a yard and it's got to look so good and it's got to be, that's a misnomer brought about by a bunch of people trying to make money. If we get back to soil conditions being correct, and we are talking about using composts, using compost teas, you can get a garden to triple its yield with the same amount of plants. It's fantastic and absolutely amazing, and it's just stuff we have forgotten. And I've just put it down in such a way and given you the resources in the book that you can put everything back in the soil. Doesn't matter where you live, whether it be in Canada, California, New Mexico to Ohio, doesn't matter. When these conditions get back in the soil, things turn around. Gardens and yards produce much higher yields. A lot of the situations people are dealing with nowadays are like, we all get flooded out because it rained. I'm sorry, that didn't used to happen long, long, long time ago, or there'd be no soil here. We've been here hundreds of thousands of years on this planet. There'd be no soil. It would have all blown into the oceans. Something has gone missing. And I believe through what professors and researchers have come up with, I believe I have found the ways to fix those conditions to get your yard absorbing the water like it should so we don't have to be watering anymore and get things turned around the other direction. So, yes, this book covers this.
Okay, Kate. Oh, I'm sorry. Am I cutting you off?
No,
Case KC Detox. Do you give info on having a garden in apartment living? Does that cover that? Does that cover
again,
that in the book?
Again, that goes back to soil conditions. If you're going to be dealing with potted plants sitting on a balcony, yes, this information is extremely important. You can shortcut yourself with those soils and not have to keep going out and buying new soil from chemical companies that are producing soil to give you good garden soil. You can use these principles right out of this book and get those same yields, whether it be out of a bucket, out of a hanging potter that just hangs off a railing. Yes, you can use these principles in gardening because you're treating the soil, not the plants. That's the idea. You've got to get the soil back where it needs to be, back where it was thousands of years ago.
Okay, very well said. Elegant Homestead said, so Ron, you hit, no, I want to say that she said something about please keep her informed. She'd be interested in purchasing a book. Now I'm going to ask, I had a couple more questions, but I figured some along the way here that I want to ask you. This book, who would you say the best person is designed for? Besides, everybody could buy it and it's designed for everybody. But when you put it out there, I know you have told me where it would be really supplied good for different people. Where would you?
Well, see, I took one of the hardest individuals I know. He's a cement layer, and his attention span, unless he's interested, this man glazes over so quick, it is unbelievable. And I put this information down in such a way and in regular terms that a 10-year-old can sit down, read this, go to the store, find these same products right out of the book, and perform exactly the same thing. But it had to be written in such a way that it was going to entertain this same individual and make him want to buy this book and utilize the information that's in this book. As much as he has seen my yard improve and has tested my tomatoes against his tomatoes, against other neighbors' tomatoes, and walks away every year astounded how much better my tomatoes are. To get him interested to sit down and read a book for an hour and a half, that's where I designed the book, is to go to the hardest person I could think of that would never read a book and give him something he wants to read.
Okay, I'm going to ask you, will your book save money and time?
Well, see, time, we have lost how many hundreds of years sitting on these yards and how much has been lost in your soil. Can we put it back? The answer is yes. Does it take time? Yes, because the process that is required to get this stuff biodegradable and biousable does take some time. Here's the trick. With the amount of product that I'm talking about and the value of the product that I'm talking about, you're buying 3 years worth of product. the very first year. So the second and the third year, you're not buying anything. You take these same things as much as you want or as little as you want, and you apply them to your soil and you give them time. So if you're using chemicals, there goes all your money. The second year, you're doing it again. The third year, you're doing it again. By the time you reach the third year with my products, you're not buying it again. Your soil's already there. The conditions are already there. All you're going to do from that point on is maintain, if any. And you're going to be able to tell just on how your yard performs, whether the weeds are coming back, whether this problem is happening, whether that problem is happening, whether the soil is still maintaining water levels. All of that stuff will become very simply evident to you. So yes, it is going to save you money, a lot of money. Time, you're spending the time already using the chemicals to try and fix your yard and your gardens. Why wouldn't you use the same amount of time to save money and triple the yield?
Okay, I had asked you this before, and you had told me that like a water bill is extremely expensive wherever you live. You said that this is sustained by using less water, correct? That you won't use that much water. That'll save you money because a water bill is extremely
Well,
expensive.
see that's the problem. So much of our soil, instead of having soil anymore, we've all ended up with clay and clay patches and hard patches throughout our yard, and the water just runs off if it doesn't wash away the topsoil at the same time that it's going. What I have found and what I have put into practice are ways of getting the soil to start absorbing the water again, to stop the clay and to turn it back into dirt, to turn it back into topsoil and get your yard back. When those conditions are correct, just like in the wilderness and out in the wild, when those conditions are correct, those things don't wash away. They stay in your yard. They maintain water. The water just comes and comes and comes and just soaks into the ground. When my neighbors' yards, who are still chemically bound, go into the heat of summer, their yards burn. Their yards stop growing. Mine's still going strong and is still green. Um, the proof is there. All you got to do is look at the grass. I'm not using water. They're out there watering every other weekend. I'm not doing a thing, and my yard is still greener and growing better than their yards.
Okay, Whiskey Woman asked me if this is your first book. I think I'm going to go there with a double question, kind of. Is this your first book? And if so, are you planning on doing a second book?
Well, let's put it this way. Yes, it is the first book. There's a lot of information. Um, I went and I looked and I searched a lot of libraries and I searched Amazon and I searched other locations for books to find information on this stuff, and it's just not available. The books that are out there are so big and so expensive, nobody's going to buy them on a regular basis, sitting at home on on a regular 9 to 5 job. You can't afford, and you're not going to have the time, and you're not going to stay interested in these books. And as I went and found out this information, as I was trying to figure out how to bring this information together, it was like, wait, there's something here. I can put together this information and put it together in such a way that people are going to be entertained by it. They're not going to want to put this book down. They're going to want to be telling their friends about this book because this information is extremely vital, but so simple. So, yes, this is a first book. Will I do a second book? Yes, there is so much more to say. There's so much more to do. If the first book is does not do well, then no, I will not spend the time and I will not put that information out. I'll keep the information quiet to myself. If the book does extremely well, then absolutely, I'm going to go out and I'm going to put together a second book. Will it be as entertaining? I don't know, because the information that is going to be in that book is going to go in so many other directions, more so for the gardener and the farmer than the yard worker. But the yard worker could use it just as well and change the conditions around his house. So yes, there is a second book potential, and yes, this is my first book.
All right. Actually, Christopher asked what was my question here. So we're like he's asking the same thing. Where can you purchase the book, and when is it? Or sorry, where can you purchase the book? I'll save this for two questions.
Well,
Where can you
I see
purchase
the
the book?
second one. Uh, we're closing in on it. We are down to the final days, in my opinion, from from everything that I'm hearing and everything that I'm seeing and the process that I understood when I got into this, we're closing in on the final days of it. We may have it available by Christmas. Um, it's going to be available primarily on Amazon, is my understanding. It may go further than that. I know I want it in Europe. I know I want it in the EU. And I'm being told that yes, it will be there. I just don't know the details at this point. As far as the pricing, um, I went and looked at these college books. I'm not putting a book out for $500. It's not going to happen. This information is much more valuable than a $500 book, but I'm still not going to put it out at that price. There's no way. They're looking at it and they're going to come back with me with a price number that I think is still going to end up being too high. Will it be reasonable for everybody? Absolutely. Is it going to be $10? No. There are kids' cartoon books coming out for $10 and they're flying off the shelves faster than people. And I've got information that's a little more valuable than that. So, yeah, the book's coming. Do I have an absolute price? No. Am I going to sell it for what its actual worth is? Absolutely not, because the information's too vital. I'd rather have the information out than bury you in a checkbook or having to go out and take a loan out to buy a book.
Okay, I think you answered this, but I'm still going to ask it. When is it available? Did you say that already?
It's coming soon. We're on top of it.
Okay, and Whiskey Woman has a question. What was the most surprising thing you learned in creating your book?
The most surprising thing that I didn't know anything about writing a book. I thought it was going to be simple. I thought it was just going to be sit down, take a crayon, scribble down a bunch of words, and I had the information together and I could publish it. It's not that simple. um, so yeah, putting the information together and writing a book, I found out things about myself that um, I didn't expect. And when I went to put pen to paper and got it all done and thought I was good to go, and then got a hold of these people and they're like, no, it's got to be in digital format. We can't do it in print. So when I went back and looked at the original chapters as I started this thing, I couldn't even make them out anymore because the ink had faded so bad. Um, so yeah, when you're going to go write a book, go to a computer and start typing.
Okay, you're going to re-answer this just if you don't mind. Fish keeping Jamaica came in late, so he didn't realize this was already asked. But he said, "Are you going to do like an ebook?" That's what he said.
Yeah, there's an ebook coming. Um, it's gonna come out with and or right after the release of the paperback, to just get this thing rolling. Um, as far as scheduling things and working things out, yeah, age zone is slightly different, and I've laid that out in such a way that you can go through it, understanding your own grow zone, and put these things into use. So yes, to say that there are actual worksheets throughout, no, it's simpler than that. It's far simpler than that. Um, can you take it down to that kind of a principle? You can. I think you're wasting your time, because none of these products are dangerous in any way, shape, or form. None of the principles that I'm using will harm a child, will harm an animal. All of this stuff is all natural. You put it down, set it, and forget it. Water it in and look away. You don't have to worry about these things. Let these things build up in your soils. Let these things build up in your gardens. They're not going to hurt anything. If this year you only did half of what you think you should have done, and next year you do double, then you're going to see exactly the same kind of results. The interesting thing is these things pile up in your soil and are or are not used. They're not going anywhere. They're just going to continue to build your soil and build your soil conditions.
Okay, actually, I'm gonna got a couple more questions after, but I'm gonna ask you. You said about it's coming in soft. Is it ever gonna be a hard book cover?
For 50 pages, that'd be a heavy book for just 50
Just
pages.
okay. Just asking because the size is too small.
I
I
mean,
get
we
it.
potentially can, but it's going to exorbitantly expand the price. And
Okay.
I'm not seeing the point.
All right. Any suggestions for someone who wants to write?
Get away from all distractions. Get into a place that is your peaceful zone whether you're sitting next to your garden. It depends on what you're writing. If your peaceful zone is in chaos in a kitchen, then sit in the chaos in the kitchen, but do what's going to keep you in the mindset of what your book is.
All right. And fish keeping Jamaica, I'm going to let you answer, but it is my question. Is Mrs. Green Thumb a co-author of this book?
No, she will probably come in on the second book, but no, she is not in on the first book. I've been doing this for 5 years. She's been doing other things. Um, she is more in the actual plant and the healthcare of the plant, and going from seed to countertop. Whereas I'm into the soils and the soil conditions. It's the same world, but it's two different directions.
Do you have a favorite place to write?
Well, we just kind of covered that. Yeah, um, close to my garden, away from distractions. Um, but you got to be sitting with a computer in your hand, so you got to be at a table somewhere. You can't just be sitting out in the lawn trying to type away on a laptop. The dogs will run it over and run away with it.
Just to reiterate something, the reason you're on my channel and working together with me is because. Why do we connect so much on this channel?
Because we're gardeners. Because we're all about getting the highest performance and learning new things and working with each other to obtain even greater values out of our gardens and our yards.
And would you say we've had several conversations in regards to talking gardening and working together on this?
I don't think we ever stopped talking about it.
Well, I just need to know that for a question that was out there. That's why I'm answering it.
Yeah, I
That
don't think we've ever stopped talking gardens. I mean, we goof around and we have some fun and bounce off each other with weird ideas. Um, but yeah, we are always open to questions and we're always there just hammering away at it, looking at new stuff. I mean, Yettle has produced us with some interesting seeds and some interesting ideas with the moringa plant. And are we going to play with it? Are we going to follow through with it? Oh, absolutely, we're going to, because it's got some interesting side effects. So why wouldn't we play with that?
that what does your family think of you writing? And that's done asked by Whiskey Woman.
What do they think? They think I'm nuts because I just disappear for hours and hours and hours and come back with in their minds nothing, because I've got nothing to show for it in my hands. It's all buried in a computer.
All
So
right.
they just think I'm sitting here on the internet goofing around. They don't realize what I'm doing.
They don't realize how serious you are about what you're doing, correct?
No, they have no idea.
And this will prove it when it's actually in a book to show all the hard work you did for 5 years, correct?
Yeah,
Not that you have to prove it to anybody, but I'm totally with you, and you know that I agree 100% what you're doing and how hard you had to work at this. Is the book scientific in nature? This is for fish keeping Jamaica. Is the book scientific in nature or is it practical and usable by anyone who may purchase it?
this is for anyone and everyone. I wrote the scientific book and it was so long and so boring. When I attempted to explain it to somebody, they instantly glazed over and were totally lost in the terminology. You don't need that to get back to nature and to get back to a green world. That's the whole point. We've got to turn things around. And if we're going to make it extremely complicated and you've got to test the soil and you got to test this and you got to do this and you got to do that, nobody's going to follow through. When you give it to them in the basic terminology and you give it to them in how simple it is, there it's just an easier book. So that's the way I wrote the book. I took the scientific terminology, condensed it all down, gave them the basic information, and put it there. It's for everybody, 10-year-old to 99-year-old, to sit down, utilize, and put into practice.
So in other words, this book would be really good for like first time homeowners, right? That they're just learning the start to
Oh,
do their
absolutely.
yards.
You're talking about somebody who's just gone out and spent $250,000 on a home. They don't have money to be buying chemicals and buying all this equipment to apply this stuff with it, wearing their toxic hazmat suits, this, that, and the other, and spending the time taking care of their yards to get a yard that they may want. Whether it be an old house or a new home, Doesn't make any difference. They can't afford it, nor do they have the time to afford it. What I'm giving them is the way to approach their soil for the conditions they're handed in a brand new home, whether old or new, and turn their yards around in less than a year and get these things working in their favor so that the following year is better. The following year after that is better. The year after that, they've got somebody else having to come cut the grass with a bunch of goats because the grass is growing so fast they can't keep up with it with lawnmowers. This stuff works. I've got the proof. I've done it.
Okay, Yeto says, were you testing the results of your products as you wrote it, or did you have the experience before doing it?
I had tested all of this stuff and had proven all of this stuff. It was my neighbors that constantly asking me, "What did I do? What did I do? What did I do?" That finally got me to the idea of, all right, I'm just going to write this stuff all down. You guys can buy the book and you'll have the information because I'm tired of talking about it. Here's the process. You've watched me for years. There's the yard. Go for it. Have fun. Do it yourself. That's why I wrote the book because I was tired of being asked, how did you do this? I'd explain it to them. And the very following week, they're asking me the same questions all over again.
Very well. So in other words, and I think you already said it again, but when your neighbors would see how successful you were with your yard, they were almost jealous and they kept bugging you because they want the same results with your yard, correct?
Well, yeah, they don't want to work as hard as they're working to get the chemicals down. They don't see me doing that because I'm not. We're out there the same amount of time, and I'm not working anywhere near as hard as they are, and I've got 10 times better results. My grass is growing 5 and 6 weeks earlier and has to be cut 5 and 6 weeks earlier after coming out of winter. Um, um, it's springtime around here. Everybody is just first getting their lawnmowers out and starting to think about turning garden beds over and what have you. I'm already done with all of that because my yard is in full bore coming into the winter thaw. I'm already growing. I've got garlic out there right now. We're in December. I've got garlic out there right now growing full bore, going to town.
That's I was going to ask you because you've shown us on several occasions and right in a video how good and excellent your garlic was, how big, and I remember showing you several times over this. Um, so, is there any more questions to be asked to Ron? And I want to know, Ron, is there anything that you'd like to sum it up with? Is there, get everything out that you've missed through all the questions that were asked?
Look, I come across real serious about this book. This book, it means a lot to me. I've done this so that everybody can make an impact on the planet and in their own yard and in their own lives. You will get healthier breathing fresh oxygen from a healthy plant. I'm sorry to say. So if you utilize this stuff, you're going to have a healthier yard and it's going to be a healthier you. And you can sit back and say, yeah, that green goofy wizard is the guy that made me healthier because I've got healthier plants in my house and I didn't have to go out and spend a bunch of money on chemicals. You don't need to. I want this to be fun. That's what it's all about. It's about enjoying getting back to nature, getting back to gardening, getting back to taking care of your yards. If your yard's healthier, you're healthier. It's as simple as that. Does it have to be hard work? Absolutely not. Have fun with it. Go goof around. One of the main principles in my book is go out with a yard sprayer, which you can get from pretty much any little hardware store. It doesn't make any difference. It's got a little container on it. Put some Put some Dawn soap in it, put a bubble head on it, and go wash your yard. Guess where your kids can go play? In the bubbles. This is about having fun, and you're still helping your yard by playing with your kids. Go out, have fun, get back to nature.
And isn't this correct that I know you put so much heart and soul into this book, and I know you have, that you still like you're excited to get this done to start your next book that you've already researched and started deeply researching for the next book, correct?
Oh, I'm already into like my fifth or sixth chapter in the second book. Will I stop writing the second book? If this one doesn't go anywhere and nobody's interested, then I'm going to stop. I'm not gonna keep beating myself up because I don't just go into a book and go into a research project and uh, uh, just do that. I'm 18, 19 hours a day, as much time as I possibly can into the research, into the understanding, bringing back the proof, bringing back the knowledge, testing it myself, proving the principles and the theories. All of this, and what we're talking about for a second book is a much larger scale than I'm capable of doing right now. Am I going to test it all? Absolutely. Will I have it in a year's time? Probably not, because I'm not going to come back with you and not have proof. I'm not going to come back and say, hey, I've got a second book just because I wrote a second book. No, I'm going to prove it first. You're going to be able to come to my property and see it.
Okay, Whiskey Woman says or asks, was there something that happened to you to make you want to do things more naturally healthy?
Yeah, I was putting all these chemicals down, spending all of this money, and I was becoming the weed king of my street. And it was like, there's something wrong here. And when I stopped and I stopped putting chemicals down and I stopped chasing the beast, because of some issues with work and migraine headaches and what have you, and I got out of it, my yard turned around and started going back the opposite direction, and it triggered a memory. And it's like, wait a minute. So if I keep putting the chemicals down, I get greater weeds. When I don't put the chemicals down, the weeds start to go away. So maybe I'm the one that's doing it wrong, and maybe nature's the way to go at it. And as soon as I got that realization into my head, the yard started turning around and the weeds went away. So it was like I was feeding the weeds. I was the weed king on my street. You could, any weed you wanted to find was probably in my yard and growing strong.
Okay, I'm going to ask you this. Based on your knowledge, do you feel that you're a landscaper or a gardener?
No, I
What
am
do you
just a simple guy with a little bit of knowledge to help share with other people the things I've proven work. Look, I've got a garden. I grow tomatoes every year. Um, and I started with 10 plants that got out of control. I've had to back it down to 8 plants to 6 plants. I now just grow 3 tomato plants that grow in excess of 16 feet tall and produce in the neighborhood of 600 pounds of tomatoes without even trying. And the weird thing is, I don't eat tomatoes. So it's kind of goofy. It's like, why grow something I don't eat? It's because I'm trying to prove a point, trying to prove a principle that this stuff works. Tomatoes are one of those plants that are going to show you if you've done something wrong, the tomato's going to suffer. Mine don't suffer. Mine expand every year. They get bigger every year. They get tastier every year. My principles work, and I prove it every year to all of my neighbors when I pass this stuff out.
So you're telling me another thing, and you've been saying this all along. Your book will increase the amount of things grown. In other words, what you used to get in tomatoes, now you'll be like tripling the amount of tomatoes. So anybody that owns a farm could find this very valuable for how much more crop they could get, correct?
Absolutely. The only thing holding the plants back is what's available in the soil. If you're putting it back in the soil and approaching my principles, and it's not even my principles, it's nature's principles. When you get the understanding of nature's principles and you start putting it back, because we farmed it all off, you put it back, everything, everything, whether it be apple trees, pumpkin plants, garlic plants, everything, even your grass itself, is going to triple in its output because everything is healthier and everything is working. You're not putting down more chemicals to get those results. Everything is coming back where it was supposed to be, and nature is taking over, and you're going to get higher yields naturally.
Did did you not say that? Okay, let's say I'm going to give you an example. If you were growing spinach, the roots and everything would release a certain thing that you might not be able to grow spinach in that spot or the way your formula is, but you can add something else would grow because it's released a certain vitamin or mineral, whatever, to the ground. Is that correct?
Right. Every plant has an aesthetic value. Every plant takes things out of soil as they put things in the soil. It's just a constant exchange, plant after plant after plant. Um, a lot of people have come under the kind of under the principle and the idea that, well, that's what crop rotation is. We're just going to move everything around because the soil's now depleted. and it needs time to relax. So we're going to bring something else in, and we're going to yield something else off that soil until 3 or 5 years, and then we'll go back and we'll plant. The principle is wrong. Nature doesn't move a tree 500 feet away because it's already farmed everything off. A tree sits there, it spreads its roots, it goes further. There's key principles in this design. Plants are the same way. You don't have to rotate crops when you're putting the things back in. Can you put crops in that are beneficial side by side to each other? Absolutely. Absolutely. That's explained, and I will go further into that explanation in the second book. There are certain plants that need to be planted next to each other to help drive things off, to help keep things from happening, to stop disease and pesticides and what have you. Some plants are very beneficial next to another, whereas like you can plant corn and your corn stalks right next to your beans, and guess where the beans are going to go? Right up those corn stalks. Are they going to affect each other? Absolutely not, in no way, shape, or form. Are you going to get higher yields? Yes, because they're more relaxed and they're going to do the things they want to do. So yes, using the principles and getting back to nature and utilizing the information from my book, that's what's going to happen. Your yard is going, your gardens, your small home gardens. You're not talking crop rotations anymore. You're talking about these plants going back in the soil in the same spots, getting bigger and bigger and healthier year after year in exactly the same spots.
So I want to make sure that we're not missing anything. Does anybody have any more questions for Ron? It's been a pretty exciting live stream. We did it for him to help with the book, and we really want him to succeed in this. His publisher's going to look at this. So please, if there's any questions you'd like to ask him, so I have this on this Hangout to show how educated Ron is and what a great interview he did with me. That's the best I'm going to say. Well, he is. He did an excellent job.
I'm undereducated.
And I want to say that you guys are awesome asking the questions. I truly appreciate that. We do. I want to know if there's any more, because if there's not, I want to make sure he gets everything out here, because we are shutting down as soon as I'm done. This was all for Ron. I wanted to make his best, and I hope he's proud of himself because he did an awesome job answering all these questions. So please, you have so many seconds here to have any questions before I shut this hangout down. And again, I want to thank all of you. What kind of language does it use? Any slang language? That's
Well,
yellow.
because sometimes it's entertaining. So uh, there's some innuendos, men to men talking, grunt grunt, power tools, blah blah blah. Bragging to each other and putting each other down in fun ways. So yeah, there's a few of that and a little bit of that in the book, but nothing in vulgar form is in the book in any way, shape, or form. Um, because it's not what it's about. It's got to be a book that anybody can read, and I want 10-year-olds to be able to sit down and read this book and be entertained by it, and be entertained by men being men, hanging out in their gardens, helping each other out, and goofing around with each other, learning this stuff, and when we end up competing in the fall as to who's got the best products and who's done the most and who's did the least amount of work to get the highest amount of yields. I want to be the winner every time. It's just a man thing.
I'm going to ask you this because she brought up a good note. Do you have any idea if this book will be in different languages? Because you said it'd be sold, it could be sold all over. Because you can use it no matter what country, where you are, what kind of terrain you have. Tell me that is this going to be in different languages for everybody to have access to?
To my understanding, yes, it will be available in multiple languages. I can't tell you how many. I don't know.
No, but the fact is, it's kind of cool because if it should be in different languages, because the fact is, if it is on Amazon, where you're going to, and we've had this discussion. You got Amazon CA, you got Amazon US, you got Amazon the UK, and all over the world has an Amazon, plus other outlets of all over that would be really interested in this, not just throughout Northern America. That's what I'm saying. So it's quite possible it's going to be all out there.
Right.
So again, I'm reiterating, is there any other questions for Ron? He did an awesome job here. I'm proud of him. He knows his stuff, and this is why we did this. so his publisher can see it. Um, any questions? I'll give you a couple more minutes. And if Ron has nothing more to say, we will be shutting down this live stream.
Yeah, I need a drink, but we're all good.
So I will give
Again, thanks everybody. Appreciate you stopping in. We will be back. I appreciate your support in this. That's not what Miss Green Thumb's channel is about, but we're trying to get things together for my book, for my world. She has been gracious enough to allow me to do this. I never asked for it, but we're heading in that direction. We're almost at that time, and here it comes. And it's coming. The book's coming faster than I expected, even though I wanted it last July. But we're almost there. It's that close.
Okay, Yaddle has another question. Does the products are designed to use during which season?
You can use this stuff all year long. You can put this stuff down in the winter. You can use this stuff to defend your yard against ice and what have. I mean, this stuff is all natural. It's not going to hurt anything as it builds up anywhere throughout your yard. It's just going to increase the value of your yard and increase the yield potential of that area. So whether you're well, I don't know if I would actually go out there and shovel off 5 feet of snow off my front yard so that I could put this chemicals and put these things down. And no, they aren't chemicals. I misspoke there and utilize these. No, I don't think I would do it in the middle of a snowstorm, Yettle, but um, from the end of the frost and even before the final frost of winter to the first frost of fall, absolutely, every bit of this stuff can be used to help your soils and to help get your yards where you want it to go.
Okay, I just want to say something too on my behalf. I'm honored to have Ron attached to my channel. I'm the one who offered him months and months ago to be here. I was the one who said I would be with him for this book. So I don't want anybody to get the idea that he's connected with me and I wanted it that way. How's that? That's just to clarify that with everybody that listens to me. I've always wanted him here. He's a smart man. We both have gardening involved. He knows a different side to it than I do, and we've connected since. So, anyways, on that being, is there anything else you'd like to say, Ron?
Nope. I appreciate everybody coming out. Thank you so much for your help.
And I will say thank you again, Ron, for coming to my channel and being connected with me. Thank you guys for shoving all those questions. They were wonderful questions. And I don't mean shoving, I mean asking it. I appreciate it tremendously. On that note, have a good night. Take care and thank you very much. We'll see you soon.